Hey everybody. It's a rainy day here, so I decided to clean out the fridge, and I've got some cabbage and some jalapeno peppers and a few onions that need to get used. So what I'm going to do is mix some vegetables together and we're going to make a fermentation. The fermentation I'm going to make is a Vietnamese ferment. It's almost, people will confuse it and maybe call it a kimchi, but kimchi is really the seasoning. It's not the process. So this is just a simple fermentation. I think it's a great way to extend the life of vegetables that are either on their way out or aren't going to last real long in the fridge. A good ferment can last up to 6 months depending on how it's stored. And it's very, very simple. It's not pickling, it's fermentation. So what I'm going to do is just gather together what vegetables I'm putting in it. And in this case, I'm going to use cabbage, carrots, some jalapeno peppers, onion, and some garlic. And I'll show you how simple this is. One of the things I like to do after peeling and washing the cabbage is lay the leaves out to dry, air dry a little bit. I'm not drying them out to become crispy, just letting them wilt a little bit. Normally I would do this outside on like our deck, but with it being windy and rainy today, they're in the kitchen. I've got them spread out over our island, and I'm just letting these things dry out. Once they're dry, they'll be ready to slice up. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for these, I'll start working on the garlic, onions, and peppers and carrots. I'll get those all sliced up, and I'll show you the slaw once it's done. It really doesn't matter what your portions are or proportions. Your measurements can really be anything. This is just what you feel like putting together in a jar. The only measurement that's important is your total quantity. It tells you how many jars and what size jars you'll need to use. But we'll get to that in just a minute. And just to show you how I'm doing this, I'm just stacking up some leaves. I roll the leaves, and I'm just chopping these coarsely. You don't have to be super precise or cut these that thin. Just a coarse chop. And then one down the middle, and good enough. This will go in here. I'll do the rest of the leaves up. I've already got some, excuse the hands, I'm stained from red onions. I did about 2 cups of onions, about a cup and a half of jalapeno, and a cup of carrots. I'll be adding all that to the cabbage when I'm finished. And I'll bring you back and show you what we've got then. And then we'll start the actual fermentation process. Well, I finished chopping everything up, and I mixed it all together, and then I measured it, and I got about 24 cups, loosely packed. So what I'm gonna do is, 24 cups is gonna be about 3 half-gallon jars. I'm just gonna start filling up my jars, and we'll see how much I end up with. So I'm just gonna take this, and everything is just roughly chopped. The onions, the garlic scapes, the carrots, the jalapeno peppers. So I'm just going to shove these into my jars. Right up to the top, and then I'm going to kind of pack it down a little bit. I'm going to do the other 2 jars, and we'll see where that leaves me. If I need to add another smaller jar just to finish it up, I will. If I can get it all crammed into 3 half-gallons, that'd be perfect. Well, I was able to get everything crammed into 3 half-gallon canning jars, so that's what we're going to use. That gives me my gallon and a half. So I made a gallon of my water mix. All this is room temperature or warm water, and you want to add to it 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 tablespoon of sugar per every pint that you use. So depending on how much you end up making, just figure for each pint that you've put together, you're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Just mix that in your water, get that stirred up. And then what I'm going to do is just fill these jars. And I may have a little extra liquid, and that's fine. We'll get this one filled up. I'll move on to the next one, and as the bubbles rise, the water level will go down. And all you really need to do with this is just make sure that everything is covered with liquid. So again, not a whole lot of measuring, not a lot of ingredients. Okay, let me just top these off a little better. And out of the 1 gallon of liquid that I made here for the ferment, I used basically all of it. There's probably maybe 3 or 4 cups of liquid still left in here. Now the other thing I'm a big fan of for fermenting are these fermentation lids that you can get from Ball. Really, all you need is a cover that has a little diaphragm on it that'll let any excess gas out. But these also come with these springs that are kind of convenient. They keep everything mashed down and below the water level, so I don't have to worry about stuff floating up to the top and drying out. So I'll just get these screwed on, and then I'll come back to you. Well, I've got all of these all set to go. I'm going to put these in a corner of the kitchen someplace where they can sit for, it's 3 to 5 days is what's recommended. I usually let them go for 5 days to a week. By then it's done. You can open it up, taste a piece. It's not going to be like sauerkraut at all. It's a very mild taste. And if you let the leaves wilt before you do this, that's kind of the trick to getting crispy slaws, like for a fermentation or even with sauerkraut. Let the leaves wilt first, and then go ahead and chop those up. This should still be crunchy when you take it out to use it. We use these in burgers, on sandwiches, in wraps, soups, stir fries. There's lots of different ways to use this. It's got a lot of flavor to it. It adds a nice crunch. And because it's fermented, it's great for gut health. So give this a shot. I'll leave the recipe down below, and we'll probably have the recipe over on our webpage, keepingitreal.com. I'm going to take these when they're finished. You can remove the fermentation lid, put a regular lid on. You can remove the springs or any kind of weights you have in here. Put a regular lid on these and throw them in the refrigerator, and they should last up to 6 months, possibly longer. That they don't last that long in our house. But until next time, if you have any recipes or any interesting ways that you would use fermented cabbage or fermented vegetables, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video.